All right, today's lesson is being confident. Read Philippians 1:23 and 24. What does Paul mean when he says that to depart and be with Christ is far better? So let's pull up Philippians 1:23 and 24. There we are. For I am in a strait between two, having a desire to depart and to be with Christ, which is far better. Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is more needful for you. All right. So, this passage has been greatly misunderstood through the ages. And this week's passage for study, Paul dealt with the contrast between living and dying. The Christian lives for Christ and may even die for him. In that sense, it is gain because our witness is much more powerful and persuasive. Philippians 1:21. No doubt a person believes when they're willing to die for that belief. But we must also recognize that the dead are really dead. They know nothing. They rest in the grave to the resurrection. See Ecclesiastes 9:5 and John 5:28 and 29. That's why Jesus said of Lazarus, who had died, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. John 11:11. If when people die, they go immediately to heaven, imagine how that would have been for Lazarus. After 4 days of Lazarus frolicking in paradise, an angel comes to him with the bad news. So sorry, Lazarus, but Jesus is calling you back to earth. You can't stay here. When we follow error to his logical conclusion, we see how erroneous it is. Death is like a dreamless sleep, from which Jesus will awaken his faithful followers at the second advent. Then, together with the living saints, they will be brought up and taken to heaven to be with Jesus forever. See 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17. Paul's departing from the present life to be with Christ means to be with him in suffering and dying. 2 Timothy 4:6. In order to attain to the resurrection from the dead. Philippians 3:11. Also, he was no doubt aware that he would close his eyes in death and that the very next thing he would know, in the twinkling of an eye, would be seeing Jesus, who would take him with all of God's people to the place Jesus has prepared for all who love him. John 14:3 and 1 Corinthians 2:9. Though willing to die for Christ, Paul knew that it would be better for the Philippians if he would remain in the flesh. Philippians 1:24. Interestingly, for the Christian, whether it is better to live for Christ or die for him is not necessarily easy to answer. Paul was hard-pressed between the two. Philippians 1:23, between staying alive or resting in the grave. Again, however much no one wants to die, have you ever thought about the moment you die, the next thing you will know is the return of Christ? How might that thought help you understand Paul's thinking here? Food for thought. Until next time, God bless.